So we're back in the photography hide at a secret nature reserve somewhere in Northamptonshire, and today I've got two different cameras with two different lenses, but offering more or less the same proposition. A long focal length that is brilliant for bird photography. So as always, I've got my Olympus OM1 and actually this is the OM5, I've got the OM1 filming us today, but I will swap over to that one later. And I've got the 100 to 400 lens, which has an effective focal length of 200 to 800, thanks to that 2x crop from the Micro Four Thirds sensor. I've also got something very special today as well. I've got the new, or fairly new, 180 to 600, 5.6 to 6.3 from Nikon. It's big, it's heavy, but does the extra benefits of the full frame sensor from the Z8 that I'm using it with and the general sort of bigger glass offer a genuine alternative to my Olympus gear? Well, let's take some shots and find out. So let's talk about what this lens is and who it's for. And essentially, it has a price of around £1,800 depending on which territory you're in, $1,800 if you're in the US. And I think the best way to think about this lens is it's a step down from the S-Class that Nikon offer. It's not got everything that the Pro lenses have, but it's got enough for most people. So it's got a focus limiter, it's got built-in image stabilization, which will give you 5.5 stops. And at that price bracket as well, that's a really tempting buy for people who are getting into wildlife photography, sports photography. But then again, it has got a variable aperture of 5.6 to 6.3. So it's not the fastest lens, but it's not the slowest as well. It's also compatible with Nikon's 2x and 1.4x teleconverters, which is great because it gives you extra focal length. However, because of that variable aperture, that's going to knock your fastest f-stop quite far back, around to f9, and that might be too slow for some conditions, although Z8 has got brilliant digital noise control, so you can ramp that ISO up quite well. In the hand, it feels big, it feels bulky. That may be enough to put some people off. But then again, you might like the size of it. If you're in the hide, you can just rest it on a beanbag. If you're out in the field, you can use a monopod. If you're using it in your hands all day, especially if you're using the Z9 rather than the Z8, it might just be a bit too heavy. For example, just the lens alone is heavier than my Olympus lens and camera together. So, you know, there is no comparison in size and weight. The Olympus wins it. But that doesn't tell the whole story because, as we'll see, quality may come into play, and you know, it depends what you're using your images for, where they're going to be exhibited just online maybe, or if you're going to make prints of them as well, how big you want your images to be. You know, the OM1 has got a brilliant high-res mode, but it doesn't work great for wildlife because things are moving around so quickly. But it does feel really well put together, this Nikon lens. It feels very reassuringly robust. It feels like if you're out in the rain, that ain't going to be a problem. Massive lens hood, huge. I'm not sure if I'd prefer to take this off really, because it just extends the length of the lens that much more. It's got a minimum focusing distance of 1.3 meters, which is all right, and you know, you're not going to be getting too much closer than that if you're going to be ramping it up to 600 mil. 600 mil is a decent focal length. You know, if you're working in a hide like this and you want to shoot birds, 400 is probably the lowest you can go with. But you know, extra focal length is really cool as well. So yeah, I'm going to take some shots now with both cameras. I'll show you a comparison. Hopefully the birds will arrive soon because there hasn't been too much activity because it's really windy today. It's a lovely sunny October day, but it is really windy as well, so I think that's putting a lot of the birds off. But we'll try and find some wildlife for you and give you a look at the image quality. So here we go. Okay, so I've been taking photos for a while now. What are my thoughts about the 180 to 600? Well, it's a cool lens. It is a really, really cool lens, and you know, newcomers to wildlife photography are going to get this lens and absolutely love it. Oh, it's a blue tit that is just landed and then flown away just as quickly. It's so windy today, I think that is affecting the bird's behaviour. Okay, so it has got 25 glass elements in 17 groups, including 6 ED and 1 aspherical element. So there's a lot of glass in there, and that should result in some really good image quality. You know, given the sort of £1,800, $1,800 price tag, some incredible quality. It does have rubber seals, so it is weather protected, and that is reassuring when you're out in the rain and wanting to continue shooting. For me, there are a few compromises though. I think the front element is huge. That's going to cost you a lot in filters, screw-in filters. And my buddy who's loaned me the lens today was saying that it doesn't have the Arca Swiss plate. So that's more money that you're going to have to spend when the lens arrives. What it does have is some extra sort of holding points, fixings on the tripod collar. So if you don't want to put the strap on the camera, you can put it on the lens. That's great. And it is a really versatile focal length. I mean, 180 to 600, that not only has you covered for bird photography, but for general sort of wildlife, travel, sports, absolutely great. You know, in terms of buttons, it is a bit sparse on the lens barrel. It does have 4, count them, 4 function buttons around the barrel, and it does have the AF, MF switch, and a focus limiter from full to infinity to 6 meters. That's great, but it doesn't have much more than that, and you would find more on a pro Nikon lens. Now, let's sort of compare that to the 100 to 400. This has got a focus limiter, it's got AF to MF, and it's got the IS on and off. The filter size is much smaller, so polarizers, UV filters, which I've got on here, is going to be much cheaper. And it has got the screw plate in the bottom of the tripod collar, so we're all good on that front. I must say the feel of the 180 to 600 with the sort of rubberized zoom and focus rings is very good. It feels like a robust, sturdy lens, and that's to Nikon's credit. It's just really big though, and I think that is part of the problem for me. I think that I've already mentioned the lens hood. I think you just get away with that unless you're shooting in really sort of challenging light conditions. I don't often use the lens hood with my 100 to 400. But, you know, first impressions, it's really cool and it's got a lot to offer. That 5.5 stops of IBIS control, or VR as Nikon's proprietary technology calls it, is good. And it has a dedicated sport mode as well, which stabilizes the viewfinder image. So that's good as well. It's got a lot of features, more features than you'd expect for the price tag, but just big. So the wind really is scaring off the birds today, so what I think we might do is take a walk around the nature reserve, see if we can capture some other wildlife, give us an opportunity to capture some more images with the 180 to 600. So yeah, why don't you come along and we'll take a walk around. Okay, so we've come back to the hide because we want to escape the wind. It is blowing a hurricane out there. So what are my thoughts about the Nikon 180 to 600? Well, I actually really like it. I like it a lot more than I thought I was going to. Essentially, this is probably the best Nikon mirrorless telephoto lens that is out there before you start spending serious money. It does everything a wildlife photographer will need. and it does it pretty well. It's robust, it's built like a tank, it weighs as much as a tank, and that for me is probably where the sort of compromise is. If you do want really lightweight, and Nikon would probably describe this as a lightweight lens, then there are other options. If you want a great focal length, because you're going to be using this lens at 600mm all the time, that's its party trick. Zooming in that close to a subject, you're going to be wanting to be using that, and it is good, it's 600mm. So it does what it sets out to do, and it does it at a really good price tag. Comparing it to the Olympus, I feel like I can move around a lot more easily with the Olympus, but when you're in a photography hide, that's less important. You can rest the camera and lens on a beanbag, tripod, on the ledge of the hide, so weight becomes less of an issue. If you're moving around, it's a lovely bird, blue tip just landed there. Let's take a shot. So I had to stop to get a picture there. With the 100-400, I certainly enjoy that top focal length of 800mm. It makes a real difference when you're shooting smaller subjects like birds. So 800mm really works for me. 600mm is great if you're using a crop sensor Nikon mirrorless. You know, you'll get even more, so that will work for you as well. Also as well, I guess the other alternatives, you don't have to get the pro lenses. There are heritage glass, F-glass that you can use the adapter with. So that'll save you money and give you a different option. But I think actually this is a really cool lens. It's a home run by Nikon in terms of pitching the right amount of features for the right price tag. And it does the job really well. So let's finish with some more photos that we've taken today, and I'll see you next time. Remember to like, comment and subscribe. It's really impressive. It's oh, hello.
Hi, sorry, why?
You're just recording a bit of video. Do you want to
Give me 2 minutes. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry.